Hey, first graders. Okay, today we are going to go back to our text features that we were completing on the toy that you chose to make a list of items about. And then after you had that list of facts, you then took it in your writing and you made it into complete sentences. And so now I need you to go back to this page where you did a picture or photograph of your toy. We did a title and we added little captions. I'm sorry, labels to talk about the different parts of particularly my excavator, but you have different parts on your toy. So now what we're going to do is we're going to add a couple more features to your toy. So I am going to add a caption to my excavator. And remember, a caption always goes with a photograph. And what the caption does in nonfiction is it explains the photograph. Okay, so I'm just going to make like a little box. Okay, so see, I've made my box next to my excavator. And now I'm going to write a sentence that describes that picture. So it could be super simple. Something like, this is a picture of an excavator from a construction site in California. Okay, so I've added a caption to my photograph to help explain what's going on. And normally a caption goes under probably a more interesting picture that describes more of what's going on in the picture. But our pictures are super simple, so I just kind of made up something. So we'll just pretend that this particular excavator is from a construction site in California. And so next feature we're going to talk about is your heading or your subtitles. So we call two things, heading or subtitle. So we have our title. See, I'm pointing to it, the excavator. But if you remember, subtitles or headings are like little chapters that describe just one specific thing about whatever you're talking about. And so the reason that nonfiction does that is because most people don't go read an entire nonfiction book. Usually they have been assigned some sort of research project on that item, or their teacher has asked them to find some information about that particular item, and it's going to take too long to read the whole book. So my teacher may have asked me, hey, I want you to research how an excavator moves, okay? And so I'm not going to read the whole book about the excavator. I'm just going to look at the table of contents and find one of the subtitles or headings that talk about how an excavator moves, okay? And so this is where I'm going to come up with my heading. So my heading, my subtitle is going to be how excavators move. And you'll notice I treat it like a title. I capitalized the beginning of each of my words because it's part of a title. Now, when we write titles, not every word is going to be capitalized. Things that are like articles, like it, is, and those kinds of words are not going to be capitalized, but generally most words are capitalized in a title or a subtitle or heading. I also underlined it because, again, that's showing me that that's an important section or a mini section to the entire Excavator book. Okay, now here's what you're going to do next. You are then going to write some information here about your toy, but it has to do with whatever your subtitle is. Because my subtitle is about how excavators move, I have to write about how excavators move. I can't just talk about all the different kinds of excavators because that's not what the subtitle says. The subtitle says how excavators move. Okay, so remember, when you're writing text to a nonfiction book or reading text in a nonfiction book, you also have specific vocabulary words bolded. So it means it's darker. When it's darker, what does that mean? You're right. It's a vocabulary word that's found in the glossary or the back of the book, and it tells you what that particular word means. So I'm also going to stick in a bolded word in my description, okay? So how excavators move. So I know that excavators use the belts on their wheels to move. I also know that somebody sits here in the cabin and manipulates the arm, okay? And when they manipulate that arm to move, the bucket scoops up the dirt or the gravel or whatever it needs to pick up and moves it to where it wants it. So that's a lot. So let's kind of start small. So I'm going to think about a sentence that I could put in here that describes how it moves. And I'm going to make sure that if I use any of my labels up at the top, that I bold them, because then they're considered a vocabulary word. Okay? Okay? I first wrote, the excavator has a cabin. And what did I do to cabin? I made it darker. I bolded it because that is one of my labels, which means most likely it's going to be in the glossary to give a definition. Well, what is a cabin? Because cabin can mean many things. You may be thinking about a cabin that's in the woods, but in this case, it's not. So the excavator has a cabin. Okay. So my next sentence is, a man or woman sits in the cabin to control the arm. I bolded it, right? Because most likely it's going to be in my glossary, okay? So now I can keep going and I can talk about the bucket and all that, but I'm running out of room. So I'm going to stop here, okay? Now you are going to go to your picture of your toy. I would like for you to first create a caption that describes your picture. So again, my caption said, this is a picture of an excavator from a site in California, okay? After you have decided what you want your caption to be, you are going to come up with a subtitle or heading. For me, my first part is how excavators move. So I've created that. Then I would like for you to come up with 2 or 3 sentences to put underneath that subtitle that talks about that subtitle. So remember, mine is how excavators move. The excavator has a cabin, bold word. A man or woman sits in the cabin to control the arm. Second bold word. So make sure that you bold some of your vocabulary words, okay? 4 things. Caption of your picture. Subtitle or heading. Few sentences with some bolded words. You got this. Good job, guys.